Richard Petty, the evolution of safety in NASCAR. When it comes to NASCAR, one name stands out above all others: Richard Petty. Known as the King of NASCAR, Petty is a legend in the world of auto racing. Throughout his illustrious career, he not only dominated the sport with his impressive record of 200 wins, but he also played a pivotal role in the evolution of safety standards in NASCAR. In the early days of NASCAR, safety was not a top priority. Drivers raced on tracks that were not much more than dirt roads, without any safety barriers or protective equipment. The cars themselves were little more than souped-up street cars, with minimal safety features. But as the sport grew in popularity and speeds increased, it became clear that changes needed to be made to protect the drivers. This is where Richard Petty stepped in. Throughout his career, Petty was a vocal advocate for safety improvements in NASCAR. One of the first major safety improvements that Petty championed was the introduction of full-face helmets. In the early days of NASCAR, drivers wore open-faced helmets that offered little protection in the event of a crash. Petty lobbied for the use of full-face helmets, which provided far greater protection for drivers in high-speed crashes. Another area where Petty made a significant impact on safety in NASCAR was with the introduction of safety harnesses. In the early days of the sport, drivers were not required to wear seat belts, and many chose not to in order to be able to exit the car quickly in the event of a fire. However, Petty recognized the importance of seat belts in preventing injuries in crashes, and he was one of the first drivers to consistently wear a safety harness. In addition to advocating for safety improvements in equipment, Petty also pushed for changes to the design of the racetracks themselves. He was a vocal proponent of adding safety barriers and walls to tracks to protect drivers in the event of a crash. He also advocated for improvements to the design of the cars themselves, including the addition of safety cages and reinforced roll cages. Petty's efforts to improve safety in NASCAR were not always well received by his fellow drivers or the racing community at large. Many saw safety improvements as unnecessary or even detrimental to the spirit of the sport. However, Petty never wavered in his commitment to making NASCAR safer for everyone involved. Today, thanks in large part to the efforts of Richard Petty and other safety advocates, NASCAR has some of the most stringent safety standards in all of auto racing. Drivers now wear fire-retardant suits, helmets, and HANS devices, and cars are equipped with a variety of safety features, including energy-absorbing crash structures and impact-absorbing foam. But despite these advancements, safety in NASCAR remains an ongoing concern. With speeds continuing to increase and drivers constantly pushing the limits of what is possible, the risk of serious injury or even death is always present. This is why it is so important to continue to push for safety improvements in the sport and to recognize the pivotal role that figures like Richard Petty have played in making NASCAR safer for everyone involved. In conclusion, Richard Petty is not only a legend in the world of auto racing, but also a pioneer in the evolution of safety standards in NASCAR. Throughout his career, Petty was a vocal advocate for safety improvements in the sport, and his efforts have had a lasting impact on the safety of drivers in NASCAR. Thanks to his tireless work, NASCAR is now a much safer sport for drivers and fans alike.